The wine glass shattered against the tile, her chair scraped back, his fingers locked around her wrist. "Let go," a voice said, steady and close. Trent Daly turned, half a smirk on his face, and sized up the bartender standing there. Ben didn't flinch. He was still in his apron. A pen was tucked behind his ear. His jaw was tight. "She said she's done," Ben added. "I said it's a misunderstanding," Trent replied. He tightened his grip. The woman's lip trembled. Her eyes were dry, her knuckles were white. "Take your hand off me," she told Trent, each word sharp like steps on broken glass. Trent laughed without letting go. "Come on, it's a drink. You owe me a conversation." Ben reached for Trent's wrist. The room stilled, phones lifted. A busser looked at the manager. The manager looked away. "Let go," Ben said again. Trent yanked her toward him. She stumbled. Her knee hit the table. Plates clattered. The busser flinched. Ben moved. His hand clamped down on Trent's forearm. He used his other to slide the woman behind him. A soft, guiding push on her arm. Trent's smirk dropped. "Do you have any idea who—" "Security," Ben called without looking away. "Now." The woman's breath hitched. At the edge of the bar, the hostess grabbed the phone. The manager's face turned the color of undercooked salmon. Trent tried to pull free. Ben held firm. The woman's voice came from behind him, small but clear. "Please," one syllable. Ben loosened his grip just enough to create space. Trent jerked forward, feinting a headbutt. Ben pivoted, using the momentum to send him into the chair he'd just kicked back. Trent went down hard. The applause died in throats before it started. Security finally barreled in, too late and too loud. "You are done," Trent spat, pointing up from the floor. "You hear me? You're done." Ben stepped back. He didn't answer. He scanned for the woman. Found her near the doorway by the hostess stand. She was shaking and trying not to show it. Her dress was simple and dark. Her hair was pinned like she had meant to feel put together. That plan was over. "Take her out the back," Ben told security. "Hey, I'm not," the manager started. "Out the back," Ben repeated. Two guards moved, one lifted Trent. The other nodded at the woman. She met Ben's eyes for a beat, gratitude, fear, something else. She followed the guard. Trent wrenched his arm from the guard leading him. "I will bury you," he said toward Ben. He said it too loud. The phone stayed up. Ben wiped his hands on his apron. He breathed slow. His heart didn't listen. At the back door, near the dumpster and the loose brick that always rocked when stepped on, the night air cut the heat in his face. The woman leaned against the wall, arms tight across her middle. "You okay?" Ben asked. She nodded. She wasn't. "I can call you a car," Ben offered. "I have one," she said. Her voice steadied. "It's around the corner." He took off his apron. He folded it over his arm. He noticed the light purple crescent forming on her wrist. He noticed she had no bag. Her phone was in her shaking hand. "Did you leave anything at the table?" he asked. "Just dignity," she said. "It would have been a joke on a different night." The car pulled up after a tense wait. Dark, spotless, quiet. The driver stepped out and opened the rear door. "Thank you," she told Ben. She tried to hand him a card. He didn't take it. "Get home safe," he said. Her eyes flashed, not offended, cut like she hadn't been treated like someone to worry about in a long time. "Name's Eva," she said. "Ben." She got in. The door closed with a soft, expensive thunk. On the corner, a stranger across the street lowered his phone. The screen glowed with a paused image of Trent on the floor and Ben over him, hand on his forearm. In the background, the woman's face was slightly turned away. Ben went back inside. The manager pulled him into the office. "You can't do that," the manager snapped. He grabbed her. "You escalated." He didn't stop. "He's a donor. He hosts events. He grabbed her," Ben repeated. The manager's silence was the kind that comes when someone knows you're right and hates that you're right. "You're suspended pending review." Ben nodded once. He had expected worse. He clocked out. He changed. His phone buzzed. The neighbor had texted a picture. Maya, 7, missing 2 front teeth, asleep with a book on her chest. Ben's shoulders lowered. He texted back, "Working, thank you, 2 more hours." He added a heart he never liked using but used anyway. He left out the back, shoulders squared against the city. By morning, the video had a caption. "Bartender takes down tech bro." It had a soundtrack it didn't need. It had comments. Hundreds. Then thousands. Maya stirred at the smell of eggs. Ben flipped a tortilla in the pan. He moved quietly. He always moved quietly in the mornings. He kissed the top of her head. "Is it Saturday?" she mumbled. "It's Tuesday," Ben said. "The boring one." She scrunched her nose. "Can I have pineapple on my lunch?" "You can have pineapple on your lunch." Her eyes opened fully. "With the fancy toothpicks?" He clicked his tongue like it was a contract being sealed, with the fancy toothpicks. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He let it ring out. It rang again. He swiped to answer. "Ben," he said, then nodded, then went quiet. He hung up. He pushed a smile onto his face like it was a tool he needed for the next 5 minutes. "Everything okay?" Maya asked. She was sharper than anyone gave her credit for. "Everything okay," he said. "Eat." After he dropped her at Mrs. Patel's before school, a car he didn't recognize idled at the corner. He looked. The driver looked away. He kept walking. At the garage, his boss waited by the lift, arms folded. "I saw the video," he said. Ben's stomach changed shape. "I didn't call out," he said. "I'm on time." "You're a good worker," his boss said. He scratched an eyebrow. "But Trent Daly knows people. He called me at 6. He said you assaulted him." Ben didn't blink. "You firing me?" "Suspending you," his boss said. 2 weeks until this blows over." "It's rent," Ben said, voice flat. "I'm not arguing," the boss said. "I'm just—" The bay door rolled open. A courier walked in, a thin envelope in his hand. "Benjamin Ortiz?" the courier asked. Ben nodded. He took the envelope. He didn't open it right away. He could feel the thickness of the paper. It was the exact weight of trouble. He tore along the short edge. A notice fell out. "Civil complaint. Assault. Claimant Trent Daly. Damages obscene." "Great," the boss muttered, like a prayer no one hears. By noon, the video had been clipped and reshared. A local station looped it between weather and traffic. Talk radio argued whether Ben was a hero or a hothead. People who were not there had opinions loud enough to feel like they had been. Eva watched the loop once on her phone. She paused on the frame where Ben's hand was on her elbow, guiding her back. Her office windows looked out over a river that pretended to belong to the city. The city pretended to believe it. Her assistant hovered in the doorway. "PR asks if we want to comment," the assistant said. "Under my name?" Eva asked without turning. "Under Sloane's?" Eva's jaw flexed. She had been Sloane at work since she could say the word quarterly. Everywhere else, for sanity, she used Eva. Less Googling, fewer questions. She had agreed to the date because someone on the board said it would be good optics to be seen with Trent at the hospital gala. The board had stopped suggesting it after last night. "No comment," she said. "You sure?" the assistant asked. "Yes," she said. "Get me Mark Benson." "The lawyer?" the assistant asked, surprised. Now, when Mark answered, Eva didn't bother with small talk. "A man is being sued for assault because he stopped a man from assaulting me. I want him protected." "Name, Ben Ortiz. Is he going to be okay with my involvement?" Mark asked, knowing the answer. "No, that ever stopped you?" "Never." "Send me the clip," Mark said. "And Eva," she waited. "Are you okay?" Eva looked at her wrist. The bruise had come up like a bloom under glass. She flexed her fingers. "I'm okay," she said, and believed it less than she sounded. That afternoon, while Mark's office pulled court schedules and filings, Ben sat in a metal chair outside the school. He rested his elbows on his knees. He watched the gate. Kids poured out. Maya ran toward him. Her backpack bounced. "Did you bring the scooter?" she asked. "It has a flat," he said. "Again?" she asked. "Again," he said. She took his hand. She glanced at the car at the far end of the block, the dark one, idling repeat. "Whose car is that?" she asked. "Someone who doesn't know where anything interesting is," Ben said. "Can we get ice cream?" she asked. "We can look at ice cream," he said. "We can smell it." "We can smell it," he said. They rounded the corner. A woman in a hoodie and sunglasses stood by the bodega. She lowered the hood. Eva, her hair was pulled through the back of a baseball cap. It was the most human Ben had seen anyone with money look. "Hi," she said, small. She looked at Maya. "Is this your boss?" Maya's eyebrows went up. She stifled a grin. "That's my dad." Eva's laugh jumped out and surprised her. "Right." Maya glanced at Ben. He nodded. She judged quickly. She had learned to. "Want to smell ice cream with us?" Maya asked. Eva's face softened. "That's the best offer I've had in months." Inside, they leaned over a glass case like it was a museum. The air tasted like sugar. Maya closed her eyes dramatically. "Mint chip. Look at you." Ben shook his head and smiled despite himself. "I brought something," Eva said, after they walked back out with 2 cones and 1 empty hand. She handed Ben a simple white card, no branding, just a name and a number, Mark Benson. "He's a lawyer," she said. "He's good." "I don't take handouts," Ben said. "It isn't a handout," she said. It's a tripping hazard you didn't leave on the floor. He looked at the card. He looked at Maya. The car at the end of the block idled. He put the card in his pocket. I'll think about it. I'm sorry about your job, Eva said. He did not ask how she knew. She didn't explain. They fell silent. Maya licked the ice cream like it was an assignment due at midnight. Thank you for last night, Eva said. You don't have to. I do, she said. People don't intervene. They weigh things. They talk themselves out of it. You didn't. He didn't stand taller, but something small inside did. The next day, 2 men in suits walked into the garage. They didn't smell like oil. We need to speak with Mr. Ortiz, the taller one said. Ben wiped his hands. He stepped forward. You attacked Mr. Daly, the other said without preamble. He's willing to drop the suit if you make a public apology and sign an NDA. Ben looked at the NDA. He didn't touch it. No, he said. The taller one smirked. You have a child, he said, eyes flicking to the photo magnetized to Ben's toolbox. Ben's hand tightened around the rag. And you have a door, he said, nodding toward the exit. They left. Ben exhaled through his nose and called the number on the card in his pocket. Mark met him that night at a diner with bad coffee and solid fries. He didn't waste time. If you sign the NDA, he controls the narrative, Mark said. If you don't, he will go for your job, your lease, your child. He already got my job, Ben said. Mark didn't flinch. Then we win the other 2. Ben glanced at Maya across the booth. She was reading a library book with a worn spine. She traced a sentence she liked with her finger. What do you want from me? Ben asked. Your patience, Mark said. And the truth the same way each time. Ben nodded once. Done. A day later, a child services officer knocked. The knock had a pattern that instantly made the muscles along Ben's neck go rigid. He opened the door partway. We received an anonymous report, the officer said, about your daughter being left alone at night. Maya is never alone, Ben said. Mrs. Patel, 2 doors down, she's always there when I have the bar shift. May we speak with her? He stepped aside. He kept his breathing even for Maya, who peeked out from behind the couch. Mrs. Patel came over, apron still on, hands still dusty with flour. She hugged Maya with the ferocity of proof. If he didn't live here, I'd adopt him and the child too, she told the officer. The officer tried not to smile. She took notes. She left with a soft apology in her eyes. Anonymous reports didn't stay anonymous for long. Trent's name hadn't been signed, but it was all over it. That night, Eva sat at a long table she hated in a house that had too many staircases. She was late for a board call she didn't want to be on. She turned on the screen, faces populated. They said words, budget, deliverables, positioning. It sounded like white noise with teeth. She ended the call early. She opened her phone. She typed a message and erased it twice. She sent it the 3rd time. If you need a ride to court tomorrow, I can help. She braced for nothing. The reply came in 3 seconds. We'll be there. She put the phone face down and exhaled. Court smelled like old books and stress. Ben wore his one good shirt. Maya wore the dress with the shooting stars because she liked the way it twirled. Eva walked in quieter than money usually does. No one recognized her without the gloss. Mark joined them with a stack of papers and a calm that felt like a blanket laid over a mess. The judge read the docket. The custody petition from Maya's grandparents had slid into the calendar like something planned for weeks. It hadn't been. It had been timed to the whirlwind like a sailor cutting sails before a storm hit someone else's boat. Eva took the stand as Eva Lane. She described the restaurant. She described the wrist. She described the word no. Her voice didn't wobble. Her composure did, in the seconds after she stepped down and sat behind Ben again. He didn't look at her. He didn't need to. His hand bumped hers on the bench by accident. She didn't move hers. Trent wasn't there. His lawyer was. He attempted to smear. He failed in small ways that added up. The judge listened. The judge looked at Maya when she spoke, not at the lawyers. Maya spoke like someone who didn't understand politics and therefore cut through them. Mrs. Patel makes the best Alu Paratha, she said at one point, not answering the question, then did perfectly. The courtroom smiled. The judge did not. Judges stayed made of stone until they didn't. The judge granted a temporary order in Ben's favor, no change to custody. A hearing date in 2 weeks. Do not talk to press, the judge said on the way out, as if press wasn't a word that could find you anyway when it wanted you. On the courthouse steps, a reporter shoved a mic at Ben. Do you regret your actions? She asked. No, he said. He kept walking. Maya held his hand like a flag she wasn't letting drop. A man leaned against a pillar, arms crossed, watching. He had the stillness of someone trained to move suddenly. He caught Eva's eye and nodded. One of her security, Ben noticed. His gaze cut to Eva. He didn't say anything. His mouth tightened for a second. He filed it away. That night on the local news, they ran a split screen. On one side, Trent laughing at a gala, hand on a woman's bare shoulder, drink swaying dangerously close to her dress. On the other, a grainy clip from the restaurant. Someone had sold it. Voices argued underneath. Someone said, "Gold digger." Someone said, "Fake hero." Someone said nothing, but looked like they were thinking both. The next morning, Ben took a rideshare shift before school. He needed gas money. A ping. He pulled to the curb. Eva got in. For a second, it looked like a scene in a movie designed to feel like fate. It was not fate. She had requested his car on purpose. "Good morning," she said. He drove. The car smelled like pineapple and coffee. Maya drew on a pad in the back seat with serious concentration. "I'm making a menu," she announced after a while. "For what?" Eva asked. "For future," Maya said, as if that were a restaurant opening next week. Eva smiled. "Specials?" "Yes," Maya said. "Spaghetti, tacos, pancakes, and rice." "That's a lot of carbs," Ben said. "Carbs are happy," Maya said. Eva laughed. It made a sound that landed somewhere between relieved and surprised. She had thought she had lost the map that led to laughter that sounded like that. They dropped Maya at school. "Be kind," Ben said, the morning ritual, heavily earned. "Be brave," Maya said, also ritual. "Be weird," Eva added. Maya grinned and saluted. They drove in silence for a minute. "I know you saw the security," Eva said. "I guessed," Ben said. "I didn't want to hide anything big from you," she said, her hand curled and uncurled on her knee. "Just the parts that make things weird until the right time." "What parts?" he asked, even though he was almost sure. She waited until he pulled into a quiet side street. She took the cap off. She looked at him. She did not blink when she said it. "My name is Sloane Keating." He exhaled almost a laugh, not because it was funny, because the hole under his feet he had organized carefully in his head suddenly had a name, and that name was printed on the sides of buildings. He looked at the dashboard. He looked at his hand on the gearshift. He looked at the girl sitting in the passenger seat, who was also a woman who could buy his apartment building to demolish it, and could fund a clinic for the people in it, and could do both before lunch. He took a breath. "Okay," he said. "That's it." She asked, and it sounded like hope walking in without knocking. "That's it for the next 5 minutes," he said. "I need to get my kid through this week." She nodded. She understood the language of the 5-minute plan. "I'm not here to make your life harder," she said. He believed her. He also knew that sometimes people broke things they were trying to fix just by touching. That afternoon, a florist delivered an arrangement to the garage. The card read from an admirer. Ben didn't touch the flowers. He folded the card in half. Behind the bright petals sat a memory from years earlier he tried not to entertain. His ex had left when Maya was 2. Addiction, a rehab, a promise, a relapse. "I'm not good at love that lasts," she had said, standing on the curb with a small suitcase, eyes empty. He had vowed to choose dependability over drama forever after. Forever had lasted until a Tuesday in a restaurant. He texted Eva that night. "Thank you for court." She replied, "Thank you for not running." He took too long to type the next sentence. Trent showed up at his building before he could. Drunk, pressed shirt untucked, eyes inflamed, Trent leaned on the buzzer like it owed him money. Ben opened the door because he'd rather know where danger was than wonder. "Let's talk," Trent slurred. He swayed. The lobby light buzzed. Mrs. Patel's door lurched open down the hall. She took one step out and stopped. She folded her arms. She was watching, not intervening, not because she wouldn't, but because she knew when to let a man draw a line without making him draw one twice. Ben stepped onto the threshold. "You need to leave," he said. "You think you can win?" Trent asked. "You think she's going to choose you?" "You're a bad person," Ben said. "That's why this is happening. It's not complicated." "You think you get to be a hero?" Trent sneered. "You wash glasses, you change oil, you smell like smoke and grease." Ben stepped closer. He kept his voice low. I tuck my daughter in, I keep my promises, pick finds any category you want, I win at those. Trent leaned forward like last time, a drunk imitation of a threat. Ben moved his hands. He didn't hit him. He didn't grab him. He pinned Trent's wrist for a second as he brushed past to close the door. The movement was small. It was enough to read in 100 different wrong ways. A phone clicked. A camera perched on the stairwell caught it. The camera was new. The building had installed it after a break-in last winter. It was a fact so boring it would mean everything. Trent staggered back into the rain and out of the shot. Ben closed the door. The next morning, a detective called. "We received a complaint," he said. Ben felt his body prepare to not sleep for 2 nights again. The detective continued, "And video from your building. The complaint doesn't match the video." Ben leaned against the wall. He opened his eyes. "Okay," he said. "Do you want to come in and make a statement?" the detective asked. "Yes." Mark sat across from Ben in the station where everything was beige and tired. He nodded approval at the video when the detective hit play. "Sometimes the camera helps," Mark said afterward. "Sometimes it hurts. Today it helps." Eva waited outside. She didn't come in. She respected glass. She had been on the wrong side of it enough to know. When Ben stepped out, she searched his face for a code. He gave it. He nodded. Her shoulders dropped. "Good," she said. He studied her for a second. He saw how much she had been holding herself together, not out of fear, but out of a promise to not take more space than she had to in a life she had just stepped into. His phone buzzed. The manager from the bar, an apology in text form that almost passed as human. Job back on, then a follow-up, but no more hero moves. He pocketed the phone. He didn't answer. He looked at Eva instead. "Why didn't you tell me on day one?" he asked. She didn't pretend not to know what he meant. "Because I liked the way you looked at me," she said. "You looked like a person looks at a person, not at a headline. I haven't had that in a long time." He nodded. "Okay," he said. He seemed to be using that word a lot. It seemed to be holding. They met the next afternoon to pick up Maya together. Maya grabbed Eva's hand like it was obvious she should. "You came back," she said. "I said I would," Eva said. "You two like each other," Maya announced, very loud, very matter-of-fact. Ben's ears got hot. Eva's laugh went sideways again. "We like your menus," she told Maya. Maya beamed. "Carbs are happy." Later in the park, they sat on a bench with slats that squeaked. Kids raced. A dog decided a stick was worthy of war. Eva had a ball capped low and a hoodie high. She pointed with her chin. "What's your dream?" she asked. He didn't answer quickly. He didn't say survival, even though it lived on the tip of his tongue. He said, eventually, a small place. Breakfast and a community table. People can sit next to someone they'd never meet otherwise and find out they have the same favorite hot sauce. He glanced at her. I want to build things no one can take away," she said. She looked at her hands. "And to pick my own girlfriend, which for the record at present, if things keep going like this, might be you." His smile was involuntary. It looked like relief, taking a breath. "The part of that sentence where you said girlfriend came out," he said. "Did it?" she asked, pretending to be surprised. He shook his head. "You know, build things no one can take away is impossible," he said. "I know," she said. "It's still the job." 2 days before the custody hearing, the hospital gala arrived. Eva as Sloane had to attend. The board demanded. Trent would be there. Cameras would be there. It would be a pageant with stake. Ben didn't watch galas. He watched Maya sleep and fixed a leak in the sink. He circled numbers on a calendar and scratched others out. At the gala, Trent smiled for cameras. His jaw was set too hard. The bruise he had tried to fake with artfully applied makeup looked obvious. He gave a quote. "We all have bad nights," he said, eyes full of performative forgiveness. Eva stood at the podium when it was her turn, pale dress, hair pulled back, voice clear. "We are here to fund a wing where people heal," she said. "So let's start with something simple and difficult. No means no." The room held its breath. She didn't say his name. She didn't have to. The sound system hummed in the pause afterward. She continued, "We are building something. We won't build it with money that insists on conditions that make women smaller." 3 donors shifted. One woman in the 3rd row put her chin up like a soldier. By morning, 2 donors had pulled commitments. 3 others had doubled them. The board had a meeting that sounded like a funeral. The hospital PR had a headache. Eva slept for 4 hours and felt better than she had in months. On the day of the hearing, the judge listened. Again, he read the detective's report. He watched the grainy lobby video, the small movement of Ben pushing past, restraint instead of violence, the way his hands knew how to fix without breaking. He read the letters neighbors had written. He read about a man who kept to himself and took out trash that wasn't his and watched a kid for another mom on the third floor when she was late home from the night shift. He read the petition from the grandparents, grief inside it like a storm cloud. He weighed it, he closed it. Petition denied, he said. Maya squeezed Ben's hand so hard it hurt, he let it. Outside, the sunlight looked different. It didn't change. They did. Ben exhaled. Eva looked at him. He looked back. Everything in that look was an answer they had both not known how to ask. What now? He asked after a minute, not because he didn't have a list, but because he wanted to know where it matched hers. Now we eat pancakes for dinner, Maya said. She had her priorities in order. Eva nodded. Carbs are happy, she said. They walked. The car that had idled stopped idling and followed at a respectful distance. People on the sidewalk didn't look twice. They were too busy making their own catastrophes functional. 3 months later, a small sign hung over a door on a corner that never had a reason to show up on a map before. Maya's table, the letters painted by a neighbor with careful hands. Inside, a counter. A griddle, a community table with mismatched chairs that looked like a family reunion and felt like one too. The first day, Eva showed up before dawn with sleeves rolled and hair tied. Ben did not let her buy it. She didn't try. They had built it. They had argued over the number of mugs. They had counted stacks of plates like prayers. On the wall near the register, a piece of paper in a cheap frame held words that mattered. Ownership, Ortiz, 51%. Keating, 49%. No NDAs. No donors who required apologies. People came. They ordered pancakes for dinner and tacos at 9 a.m. and spaghetti on Sundays because Maya insisted Sundays needed spaghetti the way mornings needed coffee. Ben moved in the kitchen like a man finding ease for the first time in a while. He flipped, he plated, he smiled when someone asked for hot sauce. Eva poured coffee with the focus of a surgeon. She took break with neighbors. She took calls outside, short, efficient, firm. The board learned to schedule around the breakfast rush. Trent moved away, quietly. The gossip tried to make it louder and failed. The detective closed the file. The manager at the bar sent a plant that died in a week. The hospital wing got built with different money. It had windows bigger than people expected. It had rooms for people who didn't have people. It had a sign somewhere small that said, built so no one has to explain why they need to be safe. On a Tuesday, around the same time as the first one, Eva came in late. Her hair was damp from rain. Ben was behind the counter, a towel over his shoulder. Maya was at the register counting nickels like a banker. You missed the morning rush, Ben said. Traffic, Eva said. On foot, he asked. Crowds, she corrected. He slid a plate in front of her, pancakes, strawberries, a mess of whipped cream that looked like a mistake and tasted right. She took a bite. She closed her eyes. She opened them. She reached across the counter and placed her hand over his. He didn't move. Thank you for that night, she said. She had thanked him before. This one had more in it. He shook his head slightly. You did the hard part, he said. She lifted one eyebrow. He clarified. You walked out. And you didn't let go, she said. He laughed. He finally let himself kiss her over the counter, quick, like a secret you tell in a quiet room. Maya groaned with theatrical disgust and then climbed onto her chair and made a new sign with crayons. No weird kissing by the pancakes. It went up on the wall next to the ownership paper. They kept going. Not because of some grand promise, but because every day added up to something they could stand inside and recognize as theirs. Eva was still Sloane in rooms that needed her to be. Ben was still a man who smelled like coffee and pepper and wheat and knew where to be at 3 p.m. when a small hand reached for his without looking. On a slow afternoon, a woman in a suit walked in. She had a bruise on her wrist, half hidden by a watch. She sat at the counter. She asked for pancakes for dinner and water with lemon. Eva poured. Ben kept his head down and his ears open. When the woman asked where the bathroom was, Eva pointed and met her eyes for a second longer than polite. The woman returned, sat down, and took a breath that made her shoulders drop. She left without leaving a name. She left a 20 and a look back that wasn't about food. Eva watched the door close. Ben slid a coffee toward her. She took it, warm against her palm. "That's why," she said. He nodded. He didn't need the words. The bell over the door rang again. Maya burst in from school, backpack falling, hair messy, joy intact. "Guess what?" she said without waiting, voice bright enough to push back the grey of the day. "What?" they said together. "I got an on future," she said, waving a crumpled piece of lined paper. It was a menu with spaghetti, tacos, pancakes, and rice. Carbs, all happy. Ben reached for the paper. Eva reached too. Their fingers bumped. Neither moved away. The bell rang. The room filled. Plates clinked. The city outside did what it always does. Inside they did too, and if anyone ever asked how it started, no one said anything about fate. They said a glass broke. A hand didn't, and that was enough.